Hi guys, Legendary Talks. We're back. We have the amazing Maurice Bernstein tonight. It's his first time, it might be his first time doing live. I'm not sure if he knows how to do it exactly. Hey Jibo, what's up y'all? We're going to talk to the amazing and interesting Maurice Bernstein tonight. I don't really know what I'm wearing. I threw this outfit together last minute. What do y'all think? Kind of weird and cool. That's what I think. So yeah, Maurice is a really interesting guy that's done a lot of things in the music business and the music industry. So I'm really excited to talk to him just about his journey and, you know, some on Legendary Talks here. We, you know, I love those cultural stories. So hopefully he will deliver. I think he's just that's now. Great. Hey,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
But I was just saying, I don't know what the heck I'm wearing. I kind of like, you know, threw this weird outfit together, but you know, it worked.
I'm having a problem hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Well, I haven't seen you
Okay.
in a long time.
Have you done IG Live before?
No, I'm a virgin, so I'm
That's what I thought.
looking forward to it.
Welcome. Welcome.
Be gentle.
Exactly. Yeah, I will. So I don't think you've seen this. So I do it pretty much every night. It's called Legendary Talks, and basically I interview, you know.
Hold on, I've got fire engines going past.
It's okay. It's okay. I like it. I actually like it. It's character.
Keeping it real. Yeah.
Exactly. I interview people that are very important to culture, but that people might not necessarily know. They're very instrumental in amazing cultural moments that we've all kind of experienced and loved, but we don't really know how basically celebrating these people that have been kind of sometimes behind the scenes and really important to these cultural moments. So I thought that you would fit that perfectly. So
thank you. And I actually have watched a few of them. You've
good. Okay, great.
You've kept me entertained during COVID. I mean, so thank you.
Oh, good. That's the point. Yeah, like my first motivation was to kind of take people's minds off of the pandemonium going on in our world. So, and then it's kind of shifted to this really, really celebration of culture. So right. I'm very happy with it.
Great. Well, I'm very honored to be invited because you know everybody. So just to be in that, I'm very honored.
Well, it's interesting. Everyone keeps saying, "Aren't I going to run out of people?" This is my 65th episode. And people keep saying, "Aren't I going to run out of people?" I'm like, no, I'll never run out of people.
You haven't even scraped the surface yet.
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to like my celebrity friends. Like I won't run out of people ever. And to be honest, it's not really about celebrities. It's about these cultural people that are very important. It doesn't matter if they're, world famous or nobody knows them. It's about their contributions to culture. So, and I'm really happy with that. So,
great.
Okay, so
how have you been? You've been
first of all, I've been good. I've been. Being innovative and creative and, living it day by day. You can't, I keep telling you, you can't hold on to things right now. You got to kind of like go with the flow,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new world. We've got to
You're in New York, right?
Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I want to start kind of in the beginning with you. You're from England, obviously, right? And I think it's those first 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years old, those are really important years creatively for people. They kind of, in a weird way, shape who the creative adult will be. I think not even teenage, kind of like those pre-teen years. So I kind of asked most people this question. What is the first song that you really connected with, that you remember really connecting with at whatever young age?
Well, I've been obsessed with music for as long as I can remember. And I can't say my parents were like big musos. I mean, they played music, but I got my real education from the national radio in England. There was a radio station, there still is, called Radio 1, which was our pop station. So, one of the big differences between England and the United States is we had a lot more sort of like national moments. because we're a much smaller country. So the radio station that everybody listened to, the whole country listened to. So we all kind of had the same experiences. And the beautiful thing about Radio 1 was it played pop music, and pop is popular music. So popular music is any type of music that people like. So I grew up listening to Stevie Wonder, all the Temptations, the Four Tops, T-Rex, Bowie, the Glitter Band, Wizard, 10cc, Mud. I mean, it was just like this cacophony of all different types of music. So the first record that really influenced me, I mean, I remember the first 45 I bought. I bought it when I was 3 years old in 1968, so I'm giving my age away, was by a guy called Rolf Harris, who's an Australian artist-singer who was actually in jail for doing some things that he shouldn't have done. It's called Two Little Boys, and that really spoke to me as a 3-year-old kid. So I bought the first thing, and I still own that single. But I think after that, I think the band that had the most influence on me when I was sort of like in my late, like about 8, was 10cc.
Good. And then, what was, you said the first 45 when you were 3, what was the first album you bought with your own money?
Well, it was my dad and me bought it together. It's the White Album by the Beatles. He told me I bought it, but he actually bought it for me. Yeah.
That sort of counts. That counts. Yeah, so I'm from Detroit, and I always reference the radio as well as being, you know, the major influence for me. And Detroit, there's only 2 kind of radio stations, like a hardcore rock, and then like an R&B, you know, like an amazing R&B radio station. So I migrated towards the R&B when I was very young, and it was, you know, in my opinion, it was one of the best radio stations in the country. And then I watched this documentary about Prince recently, and in Minneapolis, they had kind of like what you're saying, everything was on one radio station. In Detroit, it wasn't like that. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Led Zeppelin with Stevie Wonder, all these things in Minneapolis. So if you really think about it, that's Prince's music is very that. So
exactly,
that makes sense.
And then if you think about how big soul music is in Britain, especially you know, like amongst white people, it's because we were just so influenced by what we heard on the radio, and then also like records that were being imported to England, and we just became obsessed with soul, funk, and jazz music. You know.
Now there is some good in the history. There has been some really good soul music that's come out of England. It's really interesting to me. You know, I think more than, let's say, white soul singers, you know, white singers singing kind of soul-inspired music, more than even America, I think.
I don't know about that, but we definitely, you know, I think there's some amazing blue-eyed soul singers who've come out of the States. Ned Doheny, Hall & Oates, I mean, like, the huge...
But even Boy George, to me, is kind of a soul singer.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, Mick Hucknall, Boy George, Robert Palmer, you know, even I'd say Van Morrison to us, who's Irish. I mean, but it's this love, this deep love of soul music. And the term Northern Soul is actually from the north of England where I grew up. You know, we were just obsessed, you know.
What was the first concert you went to?
10cc. Second concert was Santana, which was like a month after that. And that was kind of that was the first band that actually blew my mind. I was 13 years old and I saw Santana perform, and I don't think I'd ever really experienced Latin music like that, like the band with the congueros and the timbales up front, like just my mind was blown. I mean, I didn't sleep for a year, I think, after seeing that band live.
My first concert was the Pointer Sisters, which I was just so happy to be at a concert. But the next one was Prince, and the next one was Madonna, and my mind was definitely blown over those two. Blown. You know, that changed my life for sure. Okay, so when did you move to New York?
I moved to New York in the summer of '87. right after I graduated university. I went to university in London, and I went to a University of London, and it has different schools, and I was at the School of Oriental and African Studies, which was obviously focused on Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, and I did a degree in Islamic law. So it was a totally useless thing that I did as far as like where I wanted to go in my career. And after finishing university, I wanted to go traveling, and I was very scared that I would, if I got a job in London, I would spend all the money and end up not going to Brazil, which was my destination. So I came to New York to spend 6 months working to make some money to go to Brazil.
Okay. And did you go to Brazil?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did. It was great.
And then, when did you come back? So in Brazil, what were you doing in Brazil?
I went for Carnival, so I was in Salvador in the north, in Bahia for Carnival, and then I went traveling around Brazil and Rio, Sao Paulo, a number of other places. Just did a lot of traveling but it was great. But while I was there, I was thinking, well, now I've got to kind of do something with my life, and all I could think about was New York. And so I decided that I wanted to move to New York. So in May of '88, I permanently moved to New York.
And why did you move to New York? For what reason?
I loved it. I mean, I loved my experience living in New York before, making the money to go traveling, and I was like, I think New York. I moved from Manchester to London, and for the first 6 months in London, I didn't really feel at home in London because I was a northerner. But in New York, I was immediately accepted as who I was. So I just felt at home. I mean, I still love it.
So do I. What was the first nightclub? I mean, actually, what was your first year in New York? The second time you're there, you kind of officially live there. What was that first year like? I think I would say the first year, you learn everything you need to know that first year.
I'm going to answer the first question you asked me, which was the nightclub. And that was actually, when I first came to New York in '87, I had one ambition, and that was to go to the Garage.
Oh, amazing.
And I managed to get there the week before it closed.
Amazing! That's an amazing story. Amazing.
So I had my one night at the Garage, and
amazing.
It was, I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it pretty much, it helped me really with a lot of stuff that I ended up doing just because of that experience.
So influential, that one moment, probably, right?
And when I was 18, I was in New York for a summer. This was when I was just finished high school, and I went to Studio 54, but it was a later reiteration. They'd already sold it. It was just it was called Studio 54, and it was in the space, but the fact that I was there as an 18-year-old, it wasn't the real deal. And I didn't really like that, but the Garage was great.
I love that Garage story. I just think I came to New York to visit on the 4th of July weekend, and I moved there 6 months later. But my first club ever stepped foot into New York was actually the first two clubs, same night, Limelight and Sound Factory. And then I ended up working at Limelight 6 months later when I moved there. But okay, so once you're there, you're living there. What is that first year like? Because I always say that first year, build. That's it. 1 year, and you learn everything you need to know. I think. I mean.
Yeah. No. I mean. The good thing was I'd already lived there for 6 months, so I already had a group of friends. When I was there for my first 6 months, I was working in restaurants because that was the way to make money. But then coming back, I wanted to actually get a job, so I wanted to work in music. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone in the industry, so for me, it meant I should work at a record label. I applied for jobs. I didn't know anybody. Nobody would give me a job. So I ended up interning at a concert venue called Town Hall and working in restaurants to make enough money to survive. And I ended up working at a restaurant called Trixie's in Hell's Kitchen. and that was a crazy sort of hybrid between a club and it wasn't known for its food. But I met a lot of entertainment people there. And yeah, then from there I ended up doing my own thing, basically. No one really would give me a job, so I ended up starting my own company.
Yeah. Which is?
It's called Giant Step. I mean, Giant Step didn't start exactly then. I started throwing parties, and then I was very interested in live music, and I was very interested in a certain type of music. So I started looking for artists who were being very heavily sampled in rap music at the time. So Maceo Parker, artists like the Ohio Players, Bootsy Collins, Gil Scott Heron, and I started working with them, putting on shows with them, pulling a lot of them out of retirement, and explaining to them that there's a young audience who either knew who they were because they were crate diggers and they knew the records, or they knew their music through samples and should know who they are. So I started something called the Groove Academy, which was basically a live experience, but with artists like Bootsy, George Clinton, Gil Scott Heron. I did that with a partner, and then a few months later, once we established that, we set up a weekly dance party called Giant Step, where we were mixing jazz music and hip-hop music together.
Amazing. And I think, did Jonesy do the door there from time to time? Jonesy?
Yeah, so in fact, Jonesy, I met Jonesy when I did my first ever club, which was Big House. The first time I ever did a party pre-Giant Step. It was called Ada's House of Love, and we did it on a Tuesday. We got a great night, a Tuesday night at Big House. And Jonesy was the manager, and I'd lied to them, telling them that I was a big club promoter in London, and I used to do Heaven, and I'd get 1,000 people every night, and it was no problem. I mean, I just knew that they didn't know how to even call out of the States, never mind the United States, to find out that I was lying. So I got the club night, and Jonesy was the manager. And at the end of the night, when we were settling the door, he was like, you made no money. And I was like, that's impossible. So I made him count the money like 4 times. And at the end of the 5th time, I concurred with him that I'd actually made no money. And that's how Jonesy and I met. So he's awesome.
Because I'm just having a flashback right now. I think I met him, I was doing the door at Shine, and the Giant Step party was there. But I think I would start, or we would overlap, so we would work together maybe 1 or 2 hours, like, whatever night that was, and we connected. He was great. I loved him. He was like, someone older and had all these amazing stories. My whole life I've loved people like that. So, like, I remember him being amazing. He had a Keith Haring jacket that Keith had painted, and he needed money. He was trying to sell it to me, but at the time I couldn't afford it, and I regret it to this day. To this day, I regret it.
Right.
Okay, so what was so you started Giant Step. First you were doing like the Ronnie size and things, and then you started Giant Step, or what's the order of that?
No, so actually Ronnie was, we started Giant Step in 1990. So it's amazing. I'm actually turning 28 soon, and we're celebrating 30 years of Giant Step, so I don't really understand how.
Oh, I get it.
How it's happened, but
I understand that.
you relate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're celebrating so we started in September 1990 with Giant Step, and
where at? Where was the first one?
SOBs on a Monday night. Yeah, nobody came.
Yeah. Oh, really?
No, nobody came. And then we were doing jazz and hip hop. So it was the same time as Gangstar were around, and Hardcore Quest and De La Soul. Yep. So it was kind of like a very good sort of like moment. And then, because there was a lack of records that we could play in that genre, we started having live musicians jam with the DJ. So we created this musical experience that was pretty unique. And it wasn't until we moved to the Metropolis Cafe in the spring of 1991 that this party really started taking off. And then that was the place where, that's when we got a chance to work with Massive Attack and Jamiroquai and Diggable Planets, and the first Root shows, and Gangstar, and Guru's Jazzmatazz, Roy Ayers, and it just created the scene. And out of the scene, the musicians who were playing with the DJ, and there were other artists, and we started managing those artists and started doing record deals and just really having a lot of fun with a musical genre that really wasn't in the mainstream, because back then, as you know, it was pre-internet. So unless you really knew about the underground scene, most of the people just didn't even know. It was way above people's heads. If you didn't live in the cities, you couldn't Google stuff. You'd have to go to these clubs to hear these records. So yeah, we created this scene, and we then found kindred spirits in different cities around the country. People like Marcus Wyatt in Los Angeles, and then obviously globally, like Japan, in London. What we were doing, and it just sort of grew from there. Yeah.
So I love the live music component, and I think that's kind of what is that kind of, was that, and is that kind of your passion, or what, like out of that era, what was your thing you kind of like cared about the most besides making money? What was the thing you kind of like?
Well, it wasn't about making money, because if it was about making money, I would have done a lot of things very differently.
Yeah.
To me, it's always, I'm passionate about music. I want to work with great artists.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, you know, and if I can make a living out of that, and I've been lucky enough to be able to do that for the last 30 years, that makes me really happy. If it's just about trying to sell records and make money, I might as well get a job at McDonald's flipping burgers. It's the same thing. So it's the music first for me, always. We're
creatives, and you and I both, and many people we know, are extremely passionate about creativity and music both. So yeah, like I literally love what I do for a living. I know that you do as well. It's like, you know, I'm so fortunate to get to do what I do, as I think you probably feel the same thing, you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so, but kind of what I was saying is like, so out of that, kind of like doing the parties, booking the DJs, starting to manage them, booking the talent, what was the thing that you kind of, if there was one, which one would you choose that was kind of like your favorite of all that stuff you were doing?
Well, after having success with management, we then set up a record label. And that's when we really started having fun. And probably, you know, one of the sort of like pinnacle moments was in '97 when we released New Eureka Soul with Louis Vega and Dope Gonzalez. And Giles Peterson did it in Europe. And it was just an incredible project, and a piece of music that really 22 years later stands the test of time. And it's one of those things that it didn't matter that I was I'm blessed that I was involved, but I was just a fan of what that product was. I mean, we had Roy Ayers, we had Tito Puente, we had George Benson, we had Vince Montana and the South Soul Orchestra, Jocelyn Brown, Lisa Fisher, La India. I mean, it was a dream project.
That's amazing. I always talk about this. I saw La India and Tito Puente at Sound Factory Bar played live, and I was very young, and that also blew my mind. I was living in an all Puerto Rican building at the time, and I came home and said, "Guess who I saw tonight, everybody?" And they were like, that kind of blew my mind as well. La India and Tito Puente together was like mind blowing.
I mean, Tito was just,
amazing.
Such a legend.
Okay, so after that, what was kind of next after that? What was next?
Yeah, so after that, after doing New Eureka Soul, we started being approached by the major record companies to market artists that they were kind of left to center for them. So the first one they gave us was Macy Gray, then Jill Scott, then we relaunched Sade, and then we went off to the races, basically. Just record companies would just give us any sort of left of center artist. The one I was most proud of being involved with on the marketing side was Amy Winehouse. Just such an amazing artist and project. And then, you know, we started putting out a lot of records independently, a lot of dance 12 inches, and we did the Donny album, the Colored Section, which was quite a seminal soul record at the time. And then once the sort of record business started getting a little shaky, I didn't really have the patience or really the deep pockets to kind of ride out where it was going to go. So we shifted and started working with brands and helping them play within the space of music and culture, which is really where we are today as a brand, as an agency. We oversee sort of music strategy for brands and help them plan and decide how they're going to play within music.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of where everything kind of shifted in that direction anyway. You know, kind of the branding in general became, I guess, more, popular. I don't know, you know. Wait, before we move to that, you know, next, what were some of your favorite venues? Like, I was thinking about Tramps today when I was thinking about you. I loved Tramps. I loved seeing shows there. What were some of the places you loved seeing shows during that, like, 90s, let's say?
There was a short-lived venue in Soho that we used to do Friday nights at called Sybarites, which was amazing. It was on Mercer Street. It was totally illegal. It was like a loft. The Loft was a great place. We used to do some parties there. David would not let us use his turntables, but it was a great venue. Irving Plaza, we did a lot of great shows at Irving Plaza. You mentioned Shine. I mean, I did multiple iterations of that venue. New Music Cafe, we did when it was New Music Cafe. When it was Shine, when it was Canal Room. And am I missing one name that it was?
No, I think that was it. New Music, Shine.
Supper Club was a great venue for us.
In the 40s, right?
Yes, Supper Club at the Edison Hotel. I mean, we did Massive Attack there. We did Jamiroquai there. We did our weekly party there. Anthony Bourdain was the chef there when we wrote Kitchen Confidential. Talked about the Supper Club. Supper Club was magical, and the Metropolis Cafe, which was the basement.
I love Metropolis. Yeah, I love Metropolis. But yeah, for some reason, I personally saw some amazing shows at Tramps that I was like amazing because I like the size. I saw Rick James there. Yeah. I think I saw either Lenny Kravitz or Maxwell, and Prince was watching. It was like, you know, it was always an amazing, like, small, intimate, great thing.
Yeah, the bookings at Tramp was great, and then it turned into Centrofly. Yep. Never the same. Yeah. No.
But so I was talking about last night in the show. That's where I met DJ Cassidy, the opening night of Centrofly. I did the door and he spun. So he was 18. Who, I guess, has kind of blown your mind as a performer up until this point? Up until, you know, what were we saying? Were we at 2000 something?
So you're saying in my life, who has blown my mind as a performer?
Either someone you worked with direct, you know, personally, you know, someone you booked or whatever, or, you know, it could be Bootsy Collins or somebody that blew your mind performance-wise, or it could be someone you just saw.
Well, I mean, the person who blew my mind and I'd never recovered from it was when I was 14 and I saw Jaco Pastorius play for Weather Report, and I thought I was a budding bass guitar player back then, and I sold my bass guitar the next day, and that's when I decided I wanted to be in music, but on the other side of music. So that is something that's stayed with me all my life. I've never don't think I've recovered from it. It was incredible. But I've seen so many and been a part of so many great I've been so lucky to see so many great performances in small venues. I mean, it's endless. It's the buzz that you get. I mean, I've stood next to you at some amazing shows, and like you pinch yourself, right? You know, it's just incredible.
My number one thing is to watch a live show. That's why I personally love that. That's my number one thing to do and I see, you know, in any given year, not this year, obviously, I will see a minimum of 200, 250 shows. I'll see the same artist 5, 6 times a year. I love seeing live shows, especially when they're great, obviously, But like Alice Smith, for instance, I'll see her.
Oh, I love Alice Smith.
Yeah, me too. Like Janelle Monáe, as we both know, I'll see every week.
I'm coming back.
All right, I guess we're done here. No, I'm kidding. You're over it. So, like I saw, for instance, it was a Grammy night in the early 2000s here in Beverly. It was a Beverly Hills Hotel, and Prince was doing the Parade album from beginning to end in order. I think that for me was it blew my mind. Like it was amazing. It was probably 150, 200 people there. That was, I have a million stories as well, but that one sticks out of my head as amazing.
Yeah, I've seen many amazing Prince shows.
I know, right?
Sorry, I was running out of a little bit of juice, so I was trying to like.
It's okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that for me personally, like my friend Prince was playing at the Forum about 10 years ago, and we were getting free tickets kind of every night, and I kept going 4, 5, 6 nights in a row. My friend's like, "Why are you going every night?" She was getting mad at me. I said, "This is my version of a strip club for somebody else. Let me enjoy this." I told her, let me enjoy this. I love live shows. I always have.
And also, with Prince, I remember one show seeing him and walking out and just thinking, if he was just a guitar player, that'd be enough. Because I've seen some of the greatest guitar players of all time, and he's up there. He was up there with every single one of them. If he was just a singer, he was the greatest of all time. If he was a dancer, and then you get into his songwriting, just as a songwriter, and then just
his voice and his actual voice,
everything.
And his style.
It was like he had the whole package, and it's just, and I feel that is really missing now within modern music. And it's not to say that it's not out there. It's just that we just don't nurture it the way that we used to nurture it.
I showed Purple Rain. I had a movie night here in LA, and I showed Purple Rain in the past 6 months or something. And I hadn't seen. I love it, of course. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I was worried, the acting would be a little sketchy. It was amazing, and he was only 24 when he made that movie. I didn't know he was that young. He was just so young. And then I'm gonna have Andre Simone on here next week. You know who that is? Yeah. So he played. I went to a show, and he also played one of my parties. And he started playing immediately the guitar. He was, if you don't know, he was in Prince's first band. They grew up together.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So he started.
He was married to Jodie Watley as well.
Yes, he started playing guitar at my party, and I was like, it's amazing. For the minute he started, I said, oh my gosh, he plays just like Prince immediately. And I said, it's not that he's copying Prince, it's that they learned how to play together. You could tell they learned how to play music together. They taught each other. You can really tell.
When you listen to the really early stuff when he was in the band with Colonel Abrams, and you hear the Prince on rhythm guitar, and it's like, it's Prince. It's like he's stealing the song. He steals the show on the song, and he's just playing rhythm guitar.
I have to say, I love having this conversation with you because I love music so much, and a lot of people can't go this deep into things. Gotta keep it surface sometimes.
Oh, I can go deep. I'd be like,
I know. You go deeper than me, but for me, it's pleasurable to be able to talk about music so much. Damon DeGraff was on here last night. He asked me a really interesting question. He said, did I ever want to DJ? Me, and I was like, no, because I don't like being behind the DJ booth. I like being in the center of the party, But he said that I should just do like a 1 hour set, get a really tight set, and just go and be like legendary Damon for an hour. I'm like, I said, are you going to manage me? So something I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, you should. Especially now with Serato, it's kind of easy to beat match. I used to DJ in the early days. I would do I do weekly. I used to do what was that club called on? It's in the Lower East Side, and I had a residency there. And in fact, I gave Mark Ronson his first DJ gig because he called me and he said, "I want to start DJing. Can you give me any help with the gig?" And I was like, "Well, I'm going to England next week. You can take my Monday night." And that was the first, So what was it called?
Damon was on last night, and he managed Mark.
Yeah.
And I think to Mark's credit, we kind of all knew Mark was going to be a superstar. Even then, I knew it. We all knew it. But Mark hasn't changed one bit. I run into him all the time. I was at the Oscars when he won last year. He's the same Mark, which is great. He's still the same Mark.
Oh yeah, no, he used to sneak into our club when he was underage.
Good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I put on one of his early bands at the New Music Seminar. The only reason why I put it on was he said his friend Sean would show up. And I was like, well, I don't know Sean. He goes, his name's Sean Lennon. So I said, all right, you got the gig. Just make sure Sean arrives. So.
Did he show up?
Oh, yeah. It's a long backstory. I'm not going to tell it now, but it's a very funny story. When you next see Mark, ask him about Sean Lennon in Central Park getting to his gig in time. So.
Right. Yeah, Mark is lovely. Okay, so I want to talk about when we met, but do you want to is there anything else you want to talk about before? Okay.
No, just...
So we met, in my mind, at the Edition, right? Is that where we met? Yeah, we met, yeah. Okay, because I have sometimes forget, people I met you 5 years before that. So we met at the Edition, and I think we kind of had the same thing. We had this really click of creative music on the same page. And that was, we met at the Times Square or the LA? Do you remember?
I actually met you at the Edition on Madison. And Erica, who is our mutual friend, she was like, Damon, and I'm like, and I think it was at the Grammy party when the Grammys were in New York.
The viewing party, me and Frank did, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think that's where I met you for the first time, and then I met you again at the Edition in Times Square when we had that incredible, that incredible week of that marathon of.
It was, first of all, it was my first time working the Edition opening, my very first time. I had worked within the company, but that was my first official opening, and it was engulfing. I wasn't prepared. It sucked me in literally. And they were, it was 5 nights, but I was doing sometimes 3 parties per night. Listen, we all kept meeting in the lobby every night. Remember that? At 4 or 5 in the morning. But it was Nile Rodgers, Diana Ross, Lauryn Hill, Q-Tip. Who else?
Charlie XCX.
Oh yeah.
Charlie XCX, Questlove, DJ Run, Francis and the Lights.
Yeah.
Ruckus, and Seth Troxler.
But it was a massive, amazing, one of the best things in years, to be honest. In years. For me, to see, and I was front row and center, at that fabulous dinner, that 300-person dinner, by the way, and then Diana Ross, she was going to perform, so of course, me and Eric, I went right to the front to see Ian Schrager, Diana Ross, and Nile Rodgers all together on the stage. Made my head explode in an amazing way. This is amazing.
That was a lot of fun. That was booking that talent was. We were given a month to do it, and we sat down with Ben and Ian. And it was like, well, what do you want? And they had a list of people and everything, and it was like. They said that the club, it was the first thing Ian was doing in Times Square since Studio. So I was like, let's get Diana Ross and Niall. And if we can do that, it'll be incredible. Luckily, we got them. And it was, that was just amazing. Yeah.
I agree. That was, like I said, one of the best things in literally probably 5 to 10 years in New York.
You couldn't move in that room. It was...
I was fine. I was in the very front. I was fine. Listen, I'm always in the front. I'm always in the front of every show. Wait, so is a month a long time, or is that a short amount of time, a lead time for booking? I'm just curious.
Booking 5 nights of that caliber of artists. Well, we had a month before the opening. We booked it all in 2 weeks. Because then, once you book it, then you've got to advance everything, and you've got to do all the production, and it's a lot of work that goes into it.
And then we did the LA opening, which I also think was amazing. So,
the LA opening was a lot of fun, yeah.
And why I love that LA room with those disco balls to me, they have 500 disco balls. It's the most amazing thing like ever. That, I text Ben, I'm like, I never thought I'd miss those disco balls so much. I mean,
Yeah.
And so first it was, Janelle was the first one. So Janelle Monáe. And then you had told me a story that you had booked Janelle so long ago. We're at in Miami or something?
No, so I first met Janelle through Eric Wong, who's now the president of Island Records, and he was over at Atlantic, and Janelle was signed to Atlantic through Puffy's Bad Boy label.
Yep.
And they were doing some showcases with her in New York, and it was a breakfast showcase at the Atlantic offices. This was in, I think, like late winter 2008. And Eric wanted me to see it because obviously he knew me very well and knew what I do with artists, especially artists that are a little different. And I saw her, it was just her and Kalinda, it was just the two of them. And I saw it, and at the end I said, Eric, I'm in.
Yeah.
And he was very happy about that. And the first thing I did was I booked her for my summer stage show, because I do an annual summer stage show. So I had her. She was very far down the bill. I think it was the first big show she did in New York. Jamie Lydell was the headliner. Giles Peterson was on the bill. Jose James. And Janelle was like, I think she was first on, or second on. And then after that, we did loads and loads of gigs with her. We did her at New Year's Eve at the Delano, 2009. We did her for the Grammys, 2009 at the Mondrian. We did her at the Hudson. Every corporate party that I was being asked to do, I had Janelle do. And then really up until the launch of Arch Android, we were doing loads of shows with her. It's great. Yeah. She's awesome. I love her.
Well, she, as you know, but maybe people out here don't know, she's one of the most amazing live performers. And like, she's so,
just all round. I just remember when I first met those guys, they were so like on point. It was like I thought they were like some young, I was used to dealing with sort of like, like, oh, what's up? Like they were all dressed in uniform. They were all on point. They were like rehearsed, sound checked. The professionalism was incredible. And I've seen that just continue. And my hat's off to them.
Well, I love telling her, because I met her, I think, in 2008 as well. And I say, I've seen her show grow from 4 or 5 band members to the massive show it is. I said it was good then, it's good now. It was always good. It was good back then even. But to see it grow to what it is now, her show is massive now. It's huge stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, little 5'2", so much energy. And I tell everyone, she's a rock star. She's a total rock star. I mean, she's stage dives. Like I don't think a lot of people have seen her. A lot of people haven't seen her live. I don't think they've experienced that. I said she will run as fast as she can and stage dive all the way there. Like. She's an absolute rock star. So I would say too, when her hair gets messed up, she's about to go wild then. She's about to go wild when her hair gets messed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, she performed at the Edition opening in LA, which was amazing. And you and I were standing next to each other. I think you actually pulled me next to you, so thank you. And it was an amazing show. So
yeah, I mean, when we did her at the Mondrian and the Delano, she would jump in the pool halfway through the sets. I mean, so. When we were doing a lot of the Morgan stuff with Ben back in those days, I wanted to try and get us to do a hotel pool tour where she'd jump in every pool at every performance, and we'd sort of like document it.
She performed for me, I'd say around that early 2008, 2009, small cool parties, and the sound went out. We did a sound check, and the sound went out. You know how it does. And I'm so not technical. I'm not good at stuff. So she just grabbed her other sound went out, not her microphone. So she just grabbed the microphone, and started screaming and jumping in the audience, screaming literally, just went in the audience, went crazy. She's so good at that stuff. But then also, so the Edition LA had Shaka Khan, which I've seen Shaka a lot in life, but something about this show was so special, I thought. The choices of songs she chose, she looked amazing. That was also one of those amazing shows, Shaka at the Edition, right?
Well, we picked the songs for that.
That was amazing. It was amazing, though.
So yeah, I mean, she picked one song out of that. Other than that, we picked them, and the song that she picked to do was "Sweet Thing," which was like, you know, unimpeachable. It's like, okay, please do it. Yeah, she was amazing at that show, and she looked incredible. And I was, you know, I'm not really, excuse my French, a star fucker, but I was just in such awe talking to her, and I just kept on saying to her, just look after yourself so we can have you forever, sort of thing. It was like, you know, because these people are national treasures. You know what I mean? It's like we have to really take care of these people, because, you know, they mean a lot, and so many of these artists before them have not been appreciated, and have kind of like, you know, just gone into, you know, just been anonymous, and it's just not right. So
I always say Grace Jones is a national treasure for sure. Grace Jones. Oh wait, why is it?
I'm running out of juice for some reason on my phone. So.
We only have 5 minutes left. Do you want to?
We should be able to make it. Yeah.
Okay. I saw Grace Jones in Detroit last year. I'm from Detroit, so I went home and I went with a friend of mine, and I sat in the front row, and it was, I've seen her a million times, but I could see her literally once a week as well. I love her.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's an icon. I mean,
she's 72. I'm like, I can't believe she's doing that. So it's still amazing. So on point too. Well, okay, so you said that Shaka kind of, you know, you kind of fanned out for Shaka. Anyone else that like comes to your head that, you know, you kind of either blew your mind, or you were like, I cannot believe I'm here talking to this person?
I don't really try and talk to celebrities because, unless I have to be honest with you. So I would more say talk about the honor of seeing certain people perform live. You know, I mentioned Jaco Pastorius from Weather Report. I mentioned Santana. Seeing Miles Davis, I saw Miles about 7 times. Unfortunately, not all of them were good shows, but I was lucky enough to see some good shows. I'm a real sort of like music head. So Milton Nascimento, Aretha Franklin. I mean, I've seen so many incredible shows. It's just just great music that moves you. I mean, that's the most important thing. You know, like there's a lot of great young artists who are out there, like Kamasi Washington, Thundercat. My favorite artist at the moment is a girl out of London called Cleo Sol, who is incredible. So I have a lot of optimism about what is happening musically at the moment, and also what's happening just amongst young people, dealing with what is happening in the world. And I'm just so impressed by how they've been standing up to, you know, racism in this country, where generations before them haven't really done that. So I think we have a lot. I know things are pretty crappy out there at the moment for everyone, but I think we have a lot to be optimistic about.
I agree. You know, just touching quickly, and I don't really want to even get into this, but, you know, this is the first time in my lifetime where I do feel that something will change. You mean, I think that in my lifetime, I think in anyone's lifetime, and it is being led by young people. So it's amazing. You know, there's one of my favorite protest signs. It says, "You picked the wrong generation to mess with." You mean? I love that, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's something. Well, Barack Obama gave a State of the Union about 6 weeks ago, and he said, "This is young people's fight." You mean? He said it. So, and I agree with that. So.
I just hope people continue and sustain this, and let's make a change. I mean, like,
absolutely,
let's make a change in November, guys. Let's.
And I think that's an amazing, major part of it is that it didn't end. It's, you know, just because people aren't posting and stuff, it's by no means is it over. By no means, you know, it's not as, you know, trendy at the moment, you know, like as it was a month ago, but it's not even close to being, you know, something we shouldn't be talking about. So.
Great.
Anyway, okay. So, anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, I just hope everybody is well and healthy. And you know, please, everyone, just stay positive. You know, the world is not going to be the same that it was for us, Damon. Before we went in, we had a lot of fun in those days.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very different world on the other side, but we'll make it even better, and it'll be different. So, I just want everyone to just stay healthy, be positive, and just I look forward to seeing everyone. I look forward to seeing you again in person soon.
I can't wait. I do think too. Thank you for saying that too. That's great. It's that, you know, there is a kind of creative challenge that I have enjoyed, like doing this kind of thing. You know, like there's been I got challenged creatively during this whole time, and I'm enjoying that part of it. You mean,
yeah. No, it's good. It's made everybody, it's made everybody uncomfortable, and that's good. That's when we get creative, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be some amazing art in about 2-3 years, trust me. You know, so some great albums.
There's going to be some great albums coming out this time as well.
All right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for thinking of me.
It was a great conversation. Like I said, it's kind of rare that I can talk about music so much with someone like this. So, you know, I know you can go way deeper than this, but I was going, you know, I enjoyed this. So,
thank you. Well, have a great night. I'll see you soon.
You too. Yep, see you soon.
Bye-bye.